walking through some of the flows of my prototype for the error reporting system. I Most of the tasks I did were from the administrative side. So the first one I'll start is when an admin reviews a report, a notification. So they would get a notification, either a number here um, in the navigation. So they would go to the notifications bar. From there, and they'll see the most recent item highlighted in a different color. In this case, like a blue, with again the new notification indicator next to it. If they tap to hover on it to get some details, they'll be able to see like a quick at a glance a view of the notification, and from there, in this case, it's a report. They can go ahead and create the case on the spot, or they can save it as draft so they can report and review it later. If this happens, the system will generate a pop-up modal that will show them where they can access the report. And if you notice, we now added a hover save button for all of our primary buttons, so the user knows what's interactable. If they From this page, you can see the other changes we did. We put some color in the navigation, and then we also have the chatbot or about down here, as well as the hint system, which we are open to suggestions on how to lay them out. I'm thinking perhaps the hint button can go up here instead, still being aligned with this, but like not as close to the chatbot as possible for because we don't want accidental clicks. The chatbot will be available for if the person, either the admin or the staff, has any questions about how to fill out a report, or how to get any frequently asked questions in case they can't reach out to an admin or vice versa. So from here, if the admin goes ahead and taps on the create case, this will automatically take them to the success page, which we are using this layout across the system for any successful interaction. And then from here, you can see we'll have the case number, the timestamp, some options such as leaving a quick comment, pin the case. So when the user goes into the cases page, they're gonna see the pinned cases at the top. Again, like a few summary of what just happened. The timeline, I reworked it into like a vertical, more scalable timeline. So with items that are new, the newest items will be appended at the top and highlighted in like with blue or like dark, and then all the previous items will be just showing at the bottom, which is very consistent with how timelines work in mobile applications or otherwise. So yeah, so from this, we also added I also added a option to change the language on the top, and I'm gonna be showing you a little bit of what that looks like later on. But from here, I'm gonna go ahead and go into like the cases. So yeah, so the once the user clicks on cases, and they're be able to see everything at a glance, right? So this is one of the most important pages for the admins. They're gonna be seeing all the open cases they have at the time. They're gonna be able to sort them by most recent or by oldest, as well as like individually sort them through by category, these top categories up over here. And then I thought about this, making it as scalable as possible. And again, in this example, I'm using a lot of assuming that there's a lot of cases going on at the same time. The priority, of course, will be highlighted to indicate the urgency, right? The admin can, as I mentioned earlier, pin cases to the top, or and then and unpin them, they're gonna go back to this like list view. um, by default, they are sorted by the most recent one, as I said. There's also a breadcrumbs trail, which helps the user know exactly where they are within the nesting of items in the system, as well as the ability to go back if they want to backtrack. From here, the only option that'll be in the top navigation will be the OSHA 300 form, which when the admin taps, they'll be able to kind of like select all of the open cases that they have already processed, and then from there populate the OSHA 300 form and then submit it. So from here, I'm gonna go and show an example of how to access more details. So the this bar will have all the most important information about a case at a glance. If the user taps, they're going to be seeing a drop down of a few options, including the last time, the timestamp of the when the item was last updated, They can view and edit details from there, contact the staff directly, which would take them into the messages flow, which my partner Ayushi is working on that flow. So I'm gonna skip that for time purposes. From here, they can also reassign a case to a different admin if for some reason they can't handle this. And then, of course, we'll be seeing depending items in this case, which are the OSHA 301 and the workers' comp form. And the information from to populate this tool will be gathered from the report that the user submits, and I'll be showing that in a later flow. So from here, I'm gonna go ahead and click on View Edit Details. And what this will do is this will take the admin into the look of edit mode. So they're gonna be able to see exactly what the staff saw when they were originally filling out the report. So as you can see here, we're indicating which are the items that were auto-filled with from the HR file. They're highlighted in blue, but there's also that edit indicator that the admin can go ahead and like make any necessary adjustments, right? If they want to hover, if they want to edit something, the system will first pop up this little panel here asking them if this information is accurate. And of course, this would apply for more for like addresses and like telephone numbers and things like that. If like I said, the admin can still edit things on the spot or just contact HR, contact the staff, etc. From the items that were filled out by the user, it's just the incident details and other things that were not known before. They were highlighted. They were not highlighted in blue. They're just gonna be filled in white. And then we are using indicators for entry fields for what I learned in class. So for example, such as adding a calendar to indicate calendar picker for time, dividing the numbers for date, for time, and like phone numbers. So this gives an affordance to the user as to what type of data they can input. Also, for text fields, we have a maximum number of characters as well as an indicator of how many they have left. Again, this promotes thoughtful and mindful thinking about adding details. So there's no redundancy. But of course, they can make edits to this before they submit. We also using radio buttons for binary options. So for yes or no questions, we're using this simple UI element. If the user taps yes on some items, this will unlock like some follow-up questions, such as what you see here. If they say there were 8 witnesses, then they can answer like and add witnesses to the case, as well as like append additional items. And for this, we're using a link because it's really universally recognized as like uploading method. We also made it blue because hyperlinks are normally blue to indicate like that they're clickable. So after this, the user has uploaded the files. For the medical information that the user filled in, we're using chip buttons as options instead of just giving them an entry field that they can like write things wrong or write redundancy. I'm trying to reduce that, and so just in order to standardize the data easier for the admin, I give them these options. But and of course, they can still write other symptoms. I just thought it made more sense to give them some default options first, like the most common type of symptoms, etc. So moving forward, like I said, this is information that was submitted in the report. From here, I'm going to show you what it looks like when the admin makes an edit. And so for here, I'm just gonna add a note, leave a comment /note, and this will create another pop-up with, as you notice here, the dark overlay in the background, but the admin can still see where they are. They can see all the information. After they put the comment and they leave it, this will be appended to the case somewhere in the bottom, which is consistent with how like comment sections look in pages. From here, the admin can go ahead and save changes, okay, which will take them to that success page that we already saw before. And then again, I think it's really important to use the same success page across everything, just so the users recognize like that something did happen, that something worked. And now we notice here in the timeline that the newest event, the comment that was made is just appended to the top of the timeline. In the previous item, which is just creation of the case, moves below. And that's basically how what it would look like to add either photos or any other type of media or edits to the case. Um, Something else I wanted to show you. So when the user is an admin is inside a case, they can also see the timeline over there. So I used to have it at the top here, like horizontally, but after my feedback in class, I realized, yeah, that was not very scalable, because if I want every item to be appended to the timeline, I need like a scrollable item, right? So what I'm doing here now is just I made a little thumb like preview timeline with the most recent item showing, but there's an option to expand, and that will trigger a pop-up to kind of with a scroll bar. So like the more items there are, like the user can just keep scrolling down if they want to see previous activity. But then again, the newest item will always be on the top. From there, they can use this option or this one to minimize and close, and that's how it would look across the system. For the next flow is when an admin wants to reassign a case. So as I showed before, they would go to the all cases page and then click on whatever case they want to reassign. They're gonna click on the reassign button, and what this will do, this will take them to another page that this still has the go back option for them to undo any and go and select another case, and it'll show them the information at a glance. It will show them how many admins are available at that time, as well as how many cases each one is processing, right? So this will help them decide who they want to request the assignment for. So we're gonna show this one, Valentino, which doesn't have any cases. The admin will can also write comments or reasons for the reassigning cases in the text field. Again, with the character count, I'm going to tap to select, and I already wrote some information here. We can go ahead and continue, and then the pop-up asking the admin if they are certain about what they're about to do. And this is important to give an option to go back, because we know there has to be a way to undo or like recover from an accidental click or an accidental event. So if the admin is not sure about this, they can go back. If they are certain, then they can go ahead and confirm the reassignment, and then this will take them to that success page that I already showed earlier with some of the context here, like what the summary. The admin Erik requested to reassign a case, and then they also left a comment, and of course that event will be appended in the timeline, and so on and so forth. The next one also, so now if the user goes back, now that they reassigned that case, if it goes through successfully, now they're gonna have one less case. As you can see here, now there's just 9 instead of 10, and that will be the same flow across the system. The next flow I'm going to show is what it looks like to create a new report from scratch. So as we have understood, creating a report is not the same as creating a case, because of course the admin in this case, everything when they do a report, they can automatically just make it into a case at the end, but it has to go through that process of reporting first. So they will go to the navigation panel, go at reports, and then sub item new report, and this will create a new report ID. They'll be asked who they are creating this for, whether for themselves as a staff or for them, like for admin on behalf of someone else. From here is when the hint icon comes into place, and then of course this new report creation flow looks the same across admin and across staff. So this hint section would be more for like the staff if they're doing this for the first time, etc. So this will give them some like good practice, like what's expected in a case like in a report like this to facilitate the experience, right? So they can also ask the chatbot, or as I mentioned earlier, go into like messages and talk to an admin that's available, etc. So there's this common incident types that they can select from, or if there's another category. Of course, we want to make it accessible for people to have something to write with, as well as the character count. I'm going to go ahead and click on save and continue, and this will assuming that this is what the admin is gonna do, create a report for staff, injury report, and then we're gonna select slip and fall. There's gonna be a few screens, a few loading seconds of screen, before the report finally opens. And of course, from here, the admin can go back, and then if they just started and haven't filled out much information or unsaved, the system will prompt this pop up asking them like, hey, there are unsafe changes that will be lost. Are you sure you want to navigate away? So of course the admin, the person filing can, yes, go back and lose all the progress and cancel or go back. And this will be the first category. So when the way I broke out the form when I created it was to segment things in like 4 different parts instead of just one scrollable line, which I think was a worse user experience, at least for filling out forms. So users can at any time take a break and like save us a draft and come back. So the first section is the personal details, which is what we mentioned earlier, the what was populated from HR files automatically. I'm gonna go ahead and I just assume that I'll be saved this as a draft, and then we're gonna see that that a screen for save for later pop up that I already showed earlier, and that tells people where to find the draft. If I continue forward, I'll go to the incident details, which is the information the user is gonna type in, and save and continue for now. And then all this information will be used. It's segmented like this so that when the admin populates the OSHA 301 and the workers come, this is the info they're gonna get from to fill that out. So we're gonna go ahead and continue submitting the form. When they get to the last part, and if you important, if you notice in the top of the timeline, as the user moves to another item, the item becomes darker, like the one they just completed, as well as having the consistent checkmark icon that we're using across system. So in the review and submit, this is where the view would change to a right alignment for fields. And then I chose this because, again, referencing back to the lecture, it's really easy to scan through this now familiar information, and it leads to the path of completion, which is that submit button, right, that we want. But then, of course, at this point, the user can still click on the edit icon and like go back and make any changes. So assuming everything is correct and we're ready to move forward, I'm going to submit the report. And then since the admin was the one that did it, it automatically becomes a case. So now the report ID now becomes the case ID. And there's the timestamp, the familiar timeline, and so on and so forth, what I explained earlier. From here, we can, from here, we're going to show you the repository of reports and drafts. So in the case that a staff is showing reports, these are the submitted ones. Of course, the priority, they hasn't, even if they put it, the admin ultimately makes the decision of priority. So while these are submitted, they will say not apply until the admin actually creates a case. And then from here they can see their drafts. So if at any point they saved it for later, it will appear here. And if you see, it has the same look and feel as the cases list view, because it's important that the user, the admin at least, sees, like, it looks the same for the admin, the same layout. Otherwise, if there's inconsistency, it will be harder for them to follow up. The next flow I'm going to show is when an admin fills out one of the important forms, which is in this case, we're going to start with the OSHA 301. So, the workers come. Oh, sorry. So yeah, so they would click here in the item says pending OSHA 301, and my button didn't work for some reason. So this will take them to a page where it will show them like what information is gonna be used to generate the 301 form, and then if you see here, it has the familiar review page look and feel, where the system tells them this is what we're gonna use to fill it out. So the next step is for the admin to tap on and pull the PDF form from the official website, on the government website, and then all the fields will automatically be filled out, and then this will be indicated by green, so the admin knows exactly what's going on. Of course, they can go ahead and edit themselves if they want to, but assuming everything's correct, now the preview will show that will turn green, which is that green we're using for successful interactions, for things that went well. And at which case the admin can just go ahead and submit the form. And then, of course, this option to submit will only be available after this is filled out, after the actual PDF is filled out. and that will take them to the success page once again. For the workers' compensation, it'll be the same flow. So if you go ahead and click on this one, we'll see that we just submitted the OSHA 301, but now we're still pending the workers' compensation form. So let's go ahead and fill it out. And the same procedure, that same like review page that will tell the user, we're gonna use the same info for that, for this field. They pulled the PDF form from an official source, and I'm adding the link above. And then they go ahead and populate it and make sure everything's correct, save and close. And then at that point, they can go ahead and submit the OSHA 3, the form for that as well. And then that will be added to the timeline. And then if you go back, now you see that everything was submitted for this new case that we just processed during this prototype. And then that will be the same procedure for all the cases, etc. Now, before I conclude my prototype, I want to show just like a few more features that I was thinking about. We always talk about in class how we would like for like new languages to show. And in this case, it will be helpful for people that don't speak English as a first language. So I'm going to be showing you what it looks like to go from Spanish for English to Spanish. So with this new added button at the top, the admin or staff that's filling out the report or using the system clicks on a new language, right? In this case, Spanish, and the system will like automatically just like start loading and it starts translating everything. And it's important to know that when at least in Spanish, when you translate, now you see all the items are translated in accordingly. In this case, I mean casos, which is cases. The layout, look and feel remains the same, but there are design implications because what would be normally one word in English becomes like 2 or 3 words in Spanish. So then that's when like there has to be some design decisions and resizing of things. So I just thought I should bring that up. From here, you can see the drop down. What the user can do: ver, editar, which is view, edit, contact employee, contact empleado, etc., and so on and so forth. And then I clicked on reassign case and I already showed what that looked like, but I wanted to skip to like a success page for in a different language. As you can see, retaining the same look and feel and just changing the wording. And last but not least, I wanted to show what dark mode would look like, which is something we always bring up in class, but never truly shows. So for this, I did. I'm not sure if my teammates are doing this, but I wanted to do it. So I just swapped the colors and kind of explore the contrast between the two blues we're using. And so this is how it could look like in some screens. Now, this is not a flow. These are just some screens that I recolored for illustration purposes. So I'm going to show from here, when there's a new notification, you tap. And from here, it's when the admin goes and creates a case. And this is what the success page could look like. And let me go ahead and show the last one. And this will be like the view cases. As you can see here, we're being really consistent with our color schemes, which is why I chose that dark blue on purpose, because I was thinking ahead of using dark mode and showing it in this prototype. And this is how it would look like. It gives you an idea of like the rest of the pages that I didn't include in this dark mode flow. But that concludes my prototype. Thank you.